Welcome to another episode of Real Estate Wisdom. And today with us, we have 2024 President of the Oakville, Milton, and District Real Estate Board. And what are we going to chat about? We're going to chat about market, professionalism, and how things working with the perspective of board president. So please help me welcome Anthony Danko, our president for Oakville, Milton, and District Real Estate Board. Welcome, Anthony.
Thanks, Vishal. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. How are things?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So settling down on your president role?
Yeah, the dust is kind of settled, but it won't be settled for long. It's only a 1 year appointment,
Right.
1 year job. So
Right.
there's
3 years.
It'll be
3 years. Like, you're president-elect, president, and then past president.
that's true. Yes,
But
but
the
president for only a year in between. So,
Yeah. So main job you're doing when you're president, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I know about you. Our listeners and watcher on YouTube would love to hear a little bit background about yourself and tell me about yourself. How long you've been in real estate and what inspired you to serve the organized real estate?
Well, I've been a realtor for just over 6 years now.
Right.
I was licensed long before that, but
Right.
didn't work full time until 6 years ago. And I was working in a corporate sales role before that for 25 years. I was an account manager for a database producer,
Right.
and I had a territory that went from southern Ontario and southern Quebec to northeastern U.S. So that was where most of my clients were, and most of my clients were pharmaceutical companies and manufacturing companies and those types of things. We sold them data to be compliant with regulatory requirements.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So you've always been in organized way. And I know you were also the trustee for the Halton District Catholic School Board.
That's correct. Yeah, I
Right.
was the trustee for 12 years from
Wow.
2006 to 2018.
Right.
So I did lots of board work there. So some of the things are the same, but
Right.
many things are different than real estate. So I guess you could say I have some kind of
Yeah.
desire to serve on boards, and that's what drew me into
Right.
the Oakville board.
But we were doing the volunteer stuff anyway. And I know you only said, I know you're 6 years in the industry, but I know the real estate runs in your family.
Yes, it does. Yes. So my mom, Helen, has been a realtor since 1988 or 89. She's she'll correct me when I get home, but
Right.
she's
Well,
she's been a realtor for a long time.
For a long time,
Yes,
for a
yes.
decade.
And she's had a very good career, and she's still working every day,
Yeah.
even now. So
No, everybody know, you walked in the office and they already know your
Yeah.
mom. So
Yeah, they do, yeah. Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
I know, we met, first time, when
Mhm.
you were running for the president-elect.
Mhm.
There was some choppy water,
Mhm.
but at the same time, you wanted to come and make a difference and contribute as a volunteer.
Yeah, that's good that you should point that out, because in 2020, as you know, we had that special meeting with the board, and I guess that kind of drew me in a little bit too, because I saw there was something there where
Something needed to be changed.
something needed to happen. Yeah.
Happen,
So
yes,
if members of an organization don't get involved, if they don't pay attention to things, then the organization will get out of hand,
Right.
and it won't be responsive to the membership.
Right,
if
right.
actual members don't
Yeah.
decide to do some things, right?
No, for sure. A members' involvement is such
Yeah.
an important factor in running any board because they are the contributor. They are looking into the things on ground level.
Mhm.
What probably the board will looking into a different level, right?
Mhm.
Because they're
Exactly.
serving members. But at the same time, what I love about our board is they are very collaborative. Any decision we make, we go through members and make sure that we listen to them.
Mhm.
I know it's all depends upon the directors and board of directors. They make a final decision, but at the same time, we get that input, and most of the time we implement those as well.
Exactly. And like you said, you have to understand what the will of the membership can be,
Right.
even though individual members don't necessarily express their will. So you have to find some way of learning what the collective will is. And it was the same thing with the school board, so, I mean, parents who have their children in the system right now, or ratepayers who have children in schools now, they're engaged and they kind of see what things are happening. But the truth is, all of the ratepayers to a board, even if whether they have children in school or not, are still have an interest in the school system. So, but they could be a lower level of engagement if their children aren't in school or if their grandchildren are not in school. So the challenge has always been in both places, whether it's the real estate board or the school board, to try and understand what the will of the membership or the ratepayers is.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. And leading to my next question to that is what perspective you had before joining the board as a member, and now being year and a half almost with the board, what difference you can see, what change you can see?
In the perception of the board itself?
Perception of the board, I should say.
So, that's a good question. So I guess, I was one one of the members, one of the rank and file members who thought the board was very far away, that didn't, understand my concerns and that. But, and then when you're in it, as a director, you find that it's hard. The challenge is to find out what regular members think. So, so members shouldn't, they shouldn't just recoil from providing feedback. They should offer it as often as they can. Like, I mean, I would actively solicit membership opinion through surveys or just regular engagement or people calling me to ask questions and that kind of thing.
Didn't you find we send more surveys and more things for people to look for when you're on the board, while when you want the member, you're thinking we have not much communication happening, right? But at the same time, realtors are busy.
They are,
right? Very busy people, and at the same time, a lot of communication come out, and they miss sometimes those communication, right?
Yeah. And then I guess sometimes it's shame on me, sometimes it's shame on them. But you don't read all the messages. But I get it. It's hard, and I'm busy too. So
yes.
We're all, trying to work and earn a living or whatnot. You've got your responsibilities, your daily life. So it's easy to miss things. Sure.
Oh, for sure.
So, but when there's big decisions coming up, we hope that, our members will pay attention, and that, because, I don't want to be in the position of making a decision and then say, face any kind of, response that, you never consulted us, or, why weren't we notified? And I don't believe in that kind of governance.
Right.
So try to be upfront about things before they happen.
No, for sure. Absolutely. And that's why in my tenure as well, that we want to engage and get, because more minds are great, but sometimes it happens some of the decisions which you have to make because they don't understand fully. But our job as a board as well is to educate them about those issues, right?
Right.
Because if they have the half-cooked information, then they're going to make a decision based on those, right? As a realtor, we always look for both sides when we're making a deals or negotiations in any transaction. And I think the same apply to finding out, rather than get opinionated about things without finding what is the other side is, right? Well, great experience which I had, in towards contributing to board, and I'm pretty sure that you get a lot out of it as well. While you're giving your valuable time, it's not an easy thing to do, giving your precious time as a busy realtor to the organization like that. But now, focusing on some hard questions for you.
I saw them. Saw some of them. Some of them look pretty tough.
No, they're not. They're just pretty simple questions. We want to know, as a president of OMDREB, what are your main goals and initiatives for the year 2024?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the biggest thing for OMDREB this year is going to be the opening of the new office.
Right.
So we're hoping that happens in September.
Yeah.
We have a nice, lovely location on Iron Oak Way.
Right.
It's a standalone condominium office building that faces Upper Middle Road to the north, and it's part of a larger complex. But we have the standalone portion, a building, a 5,000 square foot building.
Oh, it's
ourselves.
beautiful looking building, even for outside. And I saw the drawings before when I was there, and that's was looking beautiful. I'm looking forward to come and visit once it's ready as well.
Hopefully, we'll love to have you over, and hopefully it'll be at least as nice as this place is. So this is a beautiful office here. So.
Yeah. It's like Century 21 office, Miller office is pretty decent, but also. Looking into you were also the part of building task force who able to find that location for us as well. And so again, great contribution in terms of it was not the easy thing to do.
No, it wasn't. I mean, we spent about a year, looking for different locations, and we were looking into leasing options. We were looking into buying options, and this opportunity came up as a purchase. So that's what we did, and we're looking forward to being in there. So at least I'll spend the last 3 or 4 months of my presidency in an office location. Yeah.
Well, your presidency, and it'll be a past president, so you'll be involving more there. But tell me about I know things are changing since COVID, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of people working from home, even in government offices, you call them, you can hear the people, the kids crying in the back, or something is going on because they're working from office. Having this big place, how is going to help our members in terms of now everything is going hybrid kind of, people have adapted it. I know a lot of companies are calling people back. But it's not 100% yet.
No, you're right. It's not 100%. So just going back to what you said about the federal government, they have been mandated to be back 3 days a week, I believe, federally. And that was in the press a few months ago. I think I'm old-fashioned. Okay, people who know me know that I'm pretty old-fashioned anyway. But there's more accountability when you're in the office. Yeah. There's more accountability for everyone when you show up. And you go to an office. I mean, I get it. Realtors don't, they're out of the office. In fact, when I was working in corporate sales, our manager said, you shouldn't be in the office. You got to get out of here and sell. So, that's what we do. So if you're not in a sales role, if you're not in a front-facing sales role, you're in the office. And, I think as far as helping members goes, we're going to be back to in-class training sessions. Mm-hmm. So members will have a place to go. Yes. They'll have a place to see where our employees work. Right. There'll be a place to meet any directors. Right. And meet them there in person, and meet the CEO in person. And we'll all be at a place. We're all virtual right now. Well, we have the office in Milton. Right. But it's not a central location, and it's not. I mean, we have people there on a daily basis, but it's not a place that we're always at. Yeah. So
the biggest thing I was missing about all this thing is, not meeting other colleagues and other realtors, because that's where we network. Yeah. We share ideas. We celebrate each other. That's right. And we learn from each other.
Exactly. And that's the purpose of an association. So we realtors, we form an association, or we did back in 1954 in order to associate with one another, to get to know each other and meet, talk about things that realtors want to talk about, local issues. So, that can be done on a face-to-face. I mean, it's a face-to-face business. Exactly. It's better as a face-to-face business. So the office will give us that opportunity to have events, some small ones there. Right. We finally did our luncheon again, as you're well aware. We had our first luncheon in a few years. Right. So that's and my thing personally as a director and as president this year was simply to get off of Zoom and have meetings in person at a board table again, because some of these people I've never met. Some of them I never actually met in the flesh.
Yeah,
you know, until recently. I sat with them on the board, you know, for over a year and never met them, never shook hands with them. So, not that, you know, maybe some people are against shaking hands nowadays, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, I definitely, like, it makes sense. Like, you know, I like that kind of environment as well. And that's what I encourage. And that's why I love to go to the conferences as well, to get that feedback. My aim for joining the real estate board was not only to contribute, but also learn the nitty gritty, like first-hand information, which I can pass it on to my clients, right? So it's really helped. And I'm very thankful to all the fellow realtors, like, you know, who I met over the years, build those relationships. And now it's easy when they're sitting at the on the table.
They're in the room with you.
Yeah, when you're doing a transaction, especially.
Yes.
And they recognize you.
Sure.
And then you get the familiar face, and then they feel more comfortable.
That's right.
As well.
That's right. Yes.
I noticed a lot of time, like a tone change as well, like, you know, how they talk.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the having the classroom, I think, you know, because, you're there for the topic that the instructor is, the piece of information that you're going there to brush up on, learn about. Yeah. But you also meet the other people and you talk about things at the break or in the class, or, you know, as an aside to why you're really there. And that's all part of it. You can't really do that on Zoom.
Yeah. No, that's, that you said it, like, you know, definitely a lot of things which you can do, and it's better in person. I know, like, we talk about your goals, like, you know, this year, like a big focus is like moving to an office. Are there any other goals, like, you know, which you want to achieve, or members, they're looking forward to it?
Well, I mean, you may as well state the elephant in the room with our members is, of course, a data gap.
Right.
Okay. So that's been an issue for years.
Right.
So for viewers or for consumers, I mean, that don't see the front face of this, we have two main platforms of MLS in Ontario. So this creates a gap in data, because one platform has some data in some region, and then the other platform has the rest of the region. Yeah. So if you want the entire province of Ontario to search, realtors have to subscribe to two platforms.
At least, like, two boards.
That's right.
The members of two boards and stuff, right?
That's right. Yeah. So one of the goals this year is going to be to look at that more closely and see what can be done about it.
Right. So for our viewers or listeners who don't know what we're talking about, it basically in Ontario, there's now is merged, like, a lot of them, I believe, like 28 boards. And we have more than 96,000 realtors. Majority of the realtors, like, you know, belong to Toronto Regional Real Estate Board. And then there are surrounding boards, like, you know, Oakville and Milton Real Estate Board, RAB, which is the Hamilton Burlington, Mississauga Peel, Kitchener-Waterloo, Cambridge, Niagara region. They all are smaller board, and more you spread out, like, as boards get smaller and smaller, because of the proximity and stuff as well. So over the years, we always have changed. The data was not centralized, and boards own the data. Like, not boards, actually, the brokerages own the data, but like a board manages that, and they have some privacy issues and security issues, like, the data then gets shared. Industry is working towards getting the one centralized data for whole Ontario, so we all can benefit, especially the realtors and as well as the end user. But the end user can get the data from third party, but that's also, like, broken. Like, you know, it's not 100% accurate. So industry is working towards that, and that's what Anthony will be working from our board side to make sure that we able to achieve that collaboration, so we can provide better service to our members and our end users as well.
Yeah, exactly. So consumers don't have to worry about it so much because they see everything on Realtor.ca. It is the totality of data for available listings. Right. Or if you use House Sigma, you see some sold data.
Yeah, but also like their things when the things were selling fast, how Sigma was able to do very close like a prediction. But now when the market is slow, I can see it's all over.
Wildly discrepant.
Yes.
Property valuations.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely, and that's why like it's very important. And I raised the question when we have the Ontario-wide data meeting happen that we have to standardize our data. So it'll be easier to share because those are the challenges from tech side. It happens when that cannot be possible.
Exactly.
But I'm pretty sure the industry leaders are working on it, and it takes time, but it's going to happen.
Hey, real estate politics is politics too.
Oh, for sure. Like, it's,
that's
like,
one thing you learn as a director.
Politics everywhere, right? And
Yes.
from a small office to small organization to big organization I know you're pretty interested in politics. And maybe like one day you want to run for mayor. I'll be there to support you for sure. But like, there's when you're talking about the politics and like politicians and the lawmakers are pretty much responsible for what's happening right now in the market, right? And the one is like in the affordable housing prices so high. So how is OMDREB working to address the issue of affordable housing in the region?
Well, OMDREB has done some things.
Right.
Well, two of them are one, they helped Halton region to apply for the Housing Accelerator Fund, I believe it's called. So they put together, they helped put together an application around that.
Right.
And the other thing is we also participate in something called the Halton Housing Roundtable.
Right.
Now, I think they've met a few times. They meet only every 6 months.
Right.
And they met last September. So I wasn't part of that meeting, but I think I will be part of the next one that's going to be coming up in the first half of this year. So that's basically a gathering of almost every elected person at every level of government
involved in
Halton region. So everybody from municipal to provincial to federal meeting with and the board itself. We have representatives from the board that go to that meeting, and they try to identify what issues are and what could be done to address them. So they've done one meeting, I believe, that they had a meeting in September.
Actually, it's happening more because I just finished my past president term, so I can tell you a little bit more about it because I know
you would have been involved.
Yes,
you would have been involved. Yeah.
So Government Relation Committee, they being involved in advocacy, in getting those things done, and that's where the power of organized real estate is. Like how they can influence, not only influence, but also taking it from the ground level. What's people looking for, and working with these politicians, like from town to city to provincial or federal government, and making those effective, right? Along with Ontario Real Estate Association doing the fantastic job in getting things done. But like good to see, like, it doesn't matter which party you belong to, you MP for Liberal or MPP for Conservative. It doesn't matter.
All the different parties are
coming on the table.
If they're elected and they're in office now, then that's who's going to be at the meeting. And they are interested in listening to the representatives of 2,000 realtors, a board like us, like ours.
We are like in around 2,100, 2,200, but also like region-wise, like we're looking to like 97,000 realtors, which is a huge amount, and working on that. So in the affordable housing section, we talk about like, do you know like what are the things being discussed? I know the intensification of towns is one thing.
It is.
There's a latest announcement from Oakville that they applying for that as well, and they approved the intensification of mid-rise buildings on big lots. People wants to
I've been asked about that a few times.
Yes.
Well, you mentioned the intensification program, so the Oakville Midtown processes. There was a meeting this week of a committee of the whole earlier this week. where a lot of ratepayers and delegations spoke to the committee about their thoughts on that. But it's an ambitious plan. But I guess the density's been handed down from above, and municipalities have been asked to toe the line or get their fair share of housing units done, right? So how that gets done or whether it gets done is different, but they've been mandated to do so.
Yeah, I know like this is the cheaper way of doing things, like, quicker way of doing things, because it takes years and years to make an infrastructure, which in my opinion could be a better way without disturbing the nature of the town or city, which they thrive on, like, Oakville, I know South Oakville. I don't think anybody going to like that, like, having next to 4,000 square feet house, there's the there's a fourplex or a fiveplex there, right? So, but it would be interesting to see some people willing to sell their land for that purpose. It's going to be forced, but in coming years, it's given things going to change, right? And things is going to be different. Oakville, not the same Oakville, what it looks like.
Yeah.
Smart thing to do, like, and that says, like, if they can be creative and come out with the solution like that keeping the core feel of Oakville or any city, like, Milton also applied for that, and I think they got the funds. It's millions and millions of dollars. I don't remember the figure. I don't have in front of me.
Roughly like 40 million. I think
40 million,
it's
approximately
40
million.
Something like that. For Oakville, at least.
Yeah. Which is not a lot, actually. Like, if you look into the cost of construction these days, which is not a lot. Like, if you make one house, single family, it's $1 million. So it's like technically it's 40 houses only, right? If you're doing multiplex, definitely cost is going to be more. So it's not a lot. Like, and it seems like 40 million, but these days 40 million is Oakville. Not much, right?
Inflation gets everyone less.
Yeah. But so coming to that, like, affordable housing, like, we're pitching and doing a lot behind the scenes to make that happen. In affordable housing and also the housing which can be affordable with the rising price and everything, it's two different things. Like, if you...
Well, rents are also...
Right.
Increasing, and they're also contributing to inflation. So,
for sure.
I was at the Oakville Chamber of Commerce breakfast earlier this week.
Yeah.
And we had an economist speaking to us from RBC. Even though he quoted inflation as being something like 3.7 or 3.8% right now, that if you take rent out of the calculations, that inflation is even lower than that.
Right.
So that's part of the
big problem,
contributor to inflation. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And those are not going down, for sure. I know, like, if we talk about the town is involved, municipality is involved, provincial is involved, and federal is involved. Can you also discuss any partnerships OMDREB have with nonprofit organizations to support affordable housing initiatives?
Oh, gosh. I know we donate to some of them as charities.
Correct.
Where the charity supports parties in need of rent subsidies, things like that. There are a couple organizations, I can't think of their names off the top of my head, but I know them.
Well, I can help you on that because
you probably can.
I contributed
Home Sweet Hope is
Home Sweet Hope, like which we did.
Yeah.
Women's Shelter, like, that's what we did as well.
That's right.
And this year, what's your president charity?
Thanks for asking. My charity this year is Shifra Homes.
Yeah, Shifra Homes,
which provides housing for single mothers with children. So they support live births, and they support women who decide to keep their children.
Wow. No, that's fun, like, for our listeners and viewers, like, that's the other thing which OMDREB do pretty well. Like, every year, we named it like a president choice, but it's basically we come to the conclusion after looking into different scenarios, what's going in the market, and who needs support. And these funds, like, we raise funds, which also contribute to them to help these small organizations who are doing a fabulous job in helping families in needs. It can be like, we did the food for kids, right?
Schiffer Homes is based in Halton, and usually the President's Charity receives the proceeds from the golf tournament that we run. Yeah.
So members who are listening, even you're not a member, you can join in those tournaments, and you can even sponsor your business in those ones to help, because all these funds go to the charity, and it helped them to run those organizations, because these charities not getting enough from the government or from other places to help these people. I love the home when I did that Hope Sweet home, and they were fantastic, because they were not only helping financially, but making them get educated and re-stand on their feet, after they become single mom or single
they offer
family.
a whole package of
right?
assistance.
So continuing education,
wardrobe,
everything,
brushing up on skills, if it's life skills or something like that. They provided some assistance there too.
Good. Well, that's great. I'm glad to see that it's continue, and hope we're going to get more help to people. Now shifting our gear towards look at the charity, affordable housing. We'd love to talk about real estate, and it was always the talk of the town and also the talk of the country, you can say. So what are the current market trends in the Oakville and Milton area, and how are they impacting both buyers and sellers?
Well, good question. Well, I think we're at the bottom of a U right now. Okay. So I think prices have been pretty flat.
Right.
They're down off the peak. So, say for example, a house in Milton, if it was 1.1 back in the spring,
right,
it's probably about just under $1 million right now.
Right.
Or so. And Oakville maybe fell a little bit less than that. Oakville price is probably down about 5 to 7% or so. The days on market's increasing. It's up above 35, 40 days now to sell, right now.
Right. And that's we're talking about the January data.
Yeah, we're talking. Yeah, I mean, even the January data is not in. I guess we'll get it in a couple of days, because it's February. Yeah. Right. It's February 2nd today, right? So
hopefully by Monday we can get.
We'll see something next week on what January was like. But I think I think the turn has already started. I think it started in December, maybe beginning of December.
Right.
Where we went from a period from June or July till then, very few offers, but many showings.
Yeah, for sure.
No real slowdown in showings, so people are looking.
Right.
But very few offers were being made. Some were, but not a lot of deals. So definitely, I think there's been a turn, because my listings had more action and deals happened in December. So, and I think a lot of other people did too. So I think we're starting to see that turn around. Prices won't go up for a little while, but more houses are being sold.
But I think you pointed out in one line that it's bottom of the U, and it's after that we want to see back up again.
So everybody's waiting for this rate cut by the Bank of Canada.
Right.
It's debatable when it's. I mean, the last thing I saw now was they won't do it until July.
Right.
At first I saw April, then I saw June, and then now I see July.
Right.
So, but in the second half of the year, there ought to be some reduction, I think. I mean, unless the economy needs to be cooled down again, but I don't know.
Well, even as a board president, the only thing which we can do is make our predictions based on the current data which is available. And usual trends, what's going on. Yeah. But also because we get all the input from the data, and we see every day, price changes happening, day on the market is getting updated, and what price is getting sold, in day to day on basis, we tend to get no more nerve about where the market is going. And
I think a lot of sellers have waited.
Right.
I think they've deferred selling in that last 6 month period. So there could be some pent up pressure to finally do something. And I mean, let's face it. I mean, in some parts of Halton, say the older parts, the more mature parts,
right,
mature sellers don't always have a place to go to.
Correct.
So they stay in their house
if they sell, where they
as
go,
long as
where
they can.
purchase. Yeah.
So I mean, unless there's some kind of relief, and I've had this conversation a lot of times, there's not an abundance of housing for seniors and assisted living.
Right.
That more of that's needed. Now, some of that capacity is going up, but
Right.
I think more is going to be needed just as time goes on.
Mm. So I think, I have read some article somewhere as well. Those are the biggest demand right now for for senior housing. The baby boomers, and during the COVID, some people have retired early as well. And that's also the influx of people coming in and purchasing. That's why we had more buyers in there too. Well, good point. That's the trend, and thank you for sharing that. Again, I think pretty much similar, like what we see on day-to-day basis while working on the ground. It's also interesting to see, because if we had the crystal ball, we all will be billionaires, right?
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. So here's the thing, over the years, also the landscape of real estate is changing. And I just want to know, how is OMDREB adapting to the changing landscape of the real estate industry?
Well, I mean, the most obvious thing is the change in legislation. So the Trust in Real Estate Services Act,
TRESA,
is the acronym. So this replaces the Real Estate and Business Brokers Act of 2002. So agents have some new rules to follow with that legislation, and basically regarding agency and in documentation. So there's a little more paperwork. And
tell me about it.
But the point that OMDREB is trying to help is mainly teaching the agents, updating them on what needs to be done. So we've had sessions, of course, our other associations like OREA, Ontario Real Estate Association, and individual brokerages like yours and mine offer in-house things for the agents too. And OMDREB's also been offering sessions to keep us up to date. Not only have there been changes with TRESA, but there's also been changes at CREA, the Canadian Real Estate Association. So they introduce a realtors cooperation policy, whereas you can only have an exclusive listing. You can't have a coming soon sign. You can only have it up for 3 days.
Correct.
And unless you do only one-to-one marketing, you can't have an exclusive listing anymore.
Right.
But you can only maintain an exclusive listing if you're only doing one-to-one marketing, and that means no more Facebook groups, chat books, WhatsApp groups, and group marketing, or within the brokerage. So you just have to do one-to-one.
Yeah, no, that's for marketing wise. And there's a lot of rules that getting it's broken. I should say, once the existence of the social media, because some of the things putting every time that. What's your name, what position you are in, which brokerage you belong to, what their address, what their phone number, and some of the social media don't even allow, as long as you have the main information on your profile, that should be suffice. But also, don't get me wrong, every time I do something, I have to look into all the rules and regulation regarding the advertising, right?
And the one that's that consumers are gonna see. The most obvious thing to consumers is going to be the information guide from the regulator.
So
the Real Estate Council of Ontario has made it mandatory now that all of us realtors, must provide the consumer with an information guide. It's 16 pages, so it looks daunting, but it's not, and it's not a contract, and it's not an agreement. But the consumer, we are required to go through that document with the consumer,
for sure,
and they have to sign off on having read it or having gone through it with the realtor. So this is usually at the very early stage. So if any consumer is looking to speak to a realtor or ask them questions or have market information provided, they need to look at this information guide to understand the role of the agent.
No, for sure. Definitely there was a lot of confusion regarding client-customer kind of relationship. Who you call client, who called customer. I think the customer part they taken away, and then customer like now came the self-represented party.
Yes.
Which is in the starting I was like skeptical about it, but recently it happened. Somebody approached me, actually my client, as a self-represented party because they want to save commission, right? And when they come to know that as a agent, we cannot cooperate with them because they are not a realtor.
That's right.
So they're not going to get
No.
any benefit. Even they're not getting represented, so it's not in favor of them until they buy like a lot of properties.
Right.
As a matter of fact, like they can do the contract, but it's not the contract which we look into and cover all the aspects.
Right.
Because we're doing it every day to looking into a legal aspect. Because anybody can write on the napkin and put an offer.
Sure. I mean, the point of the legislation is so the consumer knows that they can represent themselves, and then you need to know what the limitations of that are.
Right.
Okay. Or what the advantages or disadvantages. So that's more up in the first position now.
But also like it's giving the perception to the people as well, because I do talk to those people sometimes and say, hey, you guys like, doing it, you don't want to show the property, don't want to sell the property. And I said, no, it's not about that. Thing is like, it's if you're going the professional person, you're going to get, because first of all, we have the fiduciary duty towards you when you sign the contract.
Yes.
And we are legally bound.
Yes.
Right. Anything other advice.
Plus you have the brokerage behind you as well.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. Like, so it's not only just the realtor, but the brokerage, making sure that you have the smooth transition happen. But like, with the self-represented party, I don't know why it's there. Anybody can go and to their lawyer and can ask to sign, create that agreement, pay a couple of $1,000 and get it done.
Right.
But at the same time, I like this. The reason behind that is like now you can focus a little bit more. Until I have the legal contract with you, I'm not allowed to help you.
That's right. Yes. No, you can't provide any expertise or judgment or insight or opinion. Right. So you can't leverage. They can't leverage your skills
for sure
in that kind of relationship. So I mean, it's kind of like a for sale by owner. You can put.
That's right.
A homeowner can put a for sale sign on their property.
Right.
But if they don't rely on MLS or some kind of channel to get exposure that their property's for sale or any marketing, they're going to be at a serious disadvantage.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of time people look into that, and as real estate industry get hammered a lot of time, it's like, because few bad apples over there, they don't do things like a right way and they burn out. But as it's like, we have a duty to show our clients every property. If I'm representing my buyer, and if there's a sale by owner, I'm going to go and knock their door.
Sure. Right.
And trying to find out the things about that. Yeah. Depending upon, like, definitely, we're not working for charity. We want to get paid as well for our worth, and but at the same time, it's having that negotiation skills. Like a seller doesn't have to pay. If seller is not cooperating or not paying, well, maybe the buyer can pay, right? Somebody is going to pay in that transaction. But like, I think, like, understanding, once you understand and when you're able to explain, every consumer will understand that part. That where you can help them to save money and where you can help them to, get some more advantage when you have the professional help or opinion, right?
Of course, yeah. And something you said a moment ago, excuse me.
Yeah.
There are a few bad actors.
Yeah, for sure.
And some of those high-profile bad actors were in the media.
Right.
And a lot of that's what triggered the change in the legislation to be more transparent to the consumer.
Yeah.
So you're right. Yeah. There are some bad actors out there.
There's always somewhere,
Yes,
right?
That's right.
But at the same time, like, and I think what the changes happen on TRESA is going to help increase more professionalism in the industry.
Yes.
More regulations are there.
That's the goal. That's the intent.
Bigger fines for offense and everything. It's like not the cost of doing business kind of. Is going to hurt. And in some cases, like, your license will be taken away as well.
And the regulator has more authority now to deal with that.
Right. Which is great to hear. Coming to that, like, there was another topic on that one, which was not on my question, but just came up on my mind as well, is open offer. Open offer. Like, that's a talk for years, like, about that bidding. A lot of when market was high, people were saying, like, people putting the wrong offers. And if I knew that it's only went for 10,000, 15,000 more, more transparency needed.
Right.
So what you talk about open offer and how board takes this initiative? Like, I know Realtor.ca, it's already introduced, right?
In some provinces,
Some provinces.
Not in Ontario, but
right.
Realtor.ca, depending on which province you're in, it will show that option to see what if there's offers placed on a house. As far as blind bidding, you're talking about blind bidding as well.
Right.
So now the seller can have an option to reveal what the bids
numbers,
are in a situation. So I'm not sure how that might help.
Right.
It would help the buyers, of course, but I'm not sure how it helps the sellers.
Right.
But it is up. The seller can decide, can instruct the agent to reveal what the bids are.
Yeah. And it's all about, like, those tools available, but depending upon how those tools can be used. But at least you have an option now.
It's an option.
Right?
Yeah.
How much is going to benefit? We
don't know the effect.
Don't yet. I'm planning to do one of the podcasts, actually, somebody from Australia, where the open offer happening a long time.
They've been doing it longer.
And he can tell, like, more pros and cons about that. Like, what's they seeing. It helped them in controlling the prices, reducing prices, or even get inflated more, right?
You got to be careful what you wish for.
For
sometimes these remedies bring unintended consequences to them. So
like I said, like, so many times it happens, like when the bidding war was going on, and my client find out, like, they just have to do 10,000. They lost by $5,000 only. And they say, I wish I knew that I could have paid 5,000. Even I know that, like, they cannot contribute more than $2,000.
That's right,
but they were willing to pay $5,000 to borrow somewhere and get that done.
Yeah.
So like you said, like, be careful what you wish for.
You'd have to. And that's why, personally, my personal opinion is that when governments try to overregulate things, or if they try to address one issue directly, then they cause another issue to occur. Okay, so it's very difficult for policymakers and legislators to get things right, because there's a lot of opinion out there that the low interest rates cause the increase in prices. Okay?
Right.
So,
I'll
leave it at that.
But I think, like, every day the reports coming out, like, a recent report coming out from, like, talking about immigration, a big influx that would happen, right? Student housing for rentals, right? And so there's always find something to blame on. But in my opinion, like, it is like a 360 degree. It's not like a one thing which is impacting it.
No,
it's multiple things which is impacting.
That's right.
From housing supply issue.
Right. And only the federal government can deal with the levels of newcomers.
Correct.
And only the province can deal with bureaucracy and approvals and municipalities for zoning and approving site plans and things like that. So each level's got different things.
That's right.
That they can do.
And that's the thing, like, it's unfortunate, like, sometimes it happens, like, not sometimes, most of the time it happens that provincial and federal, they don't see eye to eye, and things won't happen. And so,
well, I think it's coming around now that something needs to be done about levels of foreign students and student visas and immigration. I think there's finally a a consensus coming around, because we've seen a couple of moves recently to cap the number of students coming, and even immigration levels. I mean, they are getting the message that something needs to be done there, whether it's in time or not. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we at least they're trying something. I know elections is on the head, and so a lot of promises on those things happening now, which didn't happen for years, right?
That's right.
And the thing is, in anything, and we talk in board as well, that we have to be proactive rather than reactive. And most of the times, any organization, like from government or non-government organization or non-profit or profit organizations, it's about, not being proactive. And that's how the companies fail. That's why the government fails, because they're not proactive.
Yeah.
And when the problem is there, now you're trying to react, then it's it's maybe too late.
It's harder to stop the train.
It's harder to take, and it takes time to cover that, right? Yeah. It's going to take years to recoup for that from that damage, actually. Yeah. We talk about the landscape real estate industry, and we even got a little bit more. Can you also share some of the strategies OMDREB is implementing to stay ahead in the evolving real estate market? And I'm talking about in terms of technology, in terms of what are the initiatives OMDREB is doing that can help our members as well as our end users.
Well, that's we're participating in every, going back to the data that realtors have access to on MLS. It's kind of a bit of an inside baseball thing to consumers. So it's not something that's apparent to them, but OMDREB is participating in all of those. Where we participated in the provincial-wide data sharing meetings. We're having strategic planning sessions on the data question.
Right.
A lot of boards around us are merging, so they've already had press releases in the public domain that certain boards in Ontario are consolidating. So we don't really know how or what consolidation means for them. So,
and how it's going to help.
So we're participating in all of those discussions with boards around us. Yeah, we don't know how it's going to help or what it's going to change, but a lot of this stuff is neither here nor there to the consumer, but it's more how realtors work.
Like the organizational things, right?
Right.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, it's in terms of getting involved and having a talk with other boards, and also looking at the trends which is happening. For example, AI is a big threat to a lot of people who don't know technology.
Yeah.
And for some like me, it's a great help, right? So it depending upon how you see it, when the electronic signature came in, and even electronic booking system.
That's right.
Which you can do on a click of I love it, right?
Or these deep fake AI images that they can generate on podcasts like this.
I know. They can do it maybe thinking of the Justin Trudeau and Paul Ever doing a podcast, and they're on the same page.
You don't know who you're talking to anymore.
That's right. Yeah, it's hard to determine. So on those issues, I know the cyber security, and I all know the board also have the policies for the using the AI for that kind of things like recording, in terms of putting even the content out there, which is AI generated, without knowing it's true or not, because still you have to verify those information.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
So every organization in the world, whether it's real estate or something else, has to have a policy on AI and constraints on its use and its applications, what it should be used for and what it shouldn't be used for. I met a realtor in Toronto who's using AI very extensively to not only generate text descriptions and writing output, but to segment markets and just ask questions and produce answers in a way that he can distribute and can do it a lot faster. Right. So, and he swears by some of the applications he's created. But of course, he had an IT background before he went into real estate.
Yeah.
And he can adopt he can adopt all of these tools
Yeah, for sure.
faster and in his own way more than what maybe a lot of other people could.
Oh, for sure. Like, definitely, there's always like, ever evolving tech things going on, and it's going so fast. Like, even a tech savvy somebody like me, like, have to chase, right? And I have to ask my daughter how this works and what's going on.
That's right.
But also the question come out like about the data security and privacy and stuff. I know the OMDREB is working out as almost like a near completion. I think a new website.
Yeah, we're going to have a new front-facing consumer website.
Yeah.
That's going to have more local market information for
Right.
consumers in Halton or in Oakville and Milton.
Right.
So they can access that. So
Right.
they can use it more. I mean, right now it's something more that realtors
Like for members.
that realtors
Yeah.
use more. But
Yeah.
we want that to be more front-facing. I haven't been involved on the website
Right.
task force, but we're hoping that launches later this year too.
Wow.
So it's going to have a suite of tools for consumers.
Well, you're looking very fruitful because now the new website, new office, and maybe possibility of doing something to bring, which we were working from years, to bringing data together or some kind of service
On the
you
back
can-
end, yeah.
On the back end.
There's-
And so there are a lot goes behind the scenes, like which people don't know, and a lot of times, like even the members ask, "What member OMDREB does?" Right? And the biggest thing which I'm proud of, and you mentioned that before as well, is about training, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Providing latest, like we talk about AI, there we have a seminar or webinar, right? We talk about rules and regulations.
Exactly.
We have
Yes.
the webinars and seminars,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Marketing, how to market yourself,
That's right.
how to get the special designation, we also
How to deal with rural properties, how to deal with wells, how to
Right.
deal with multi-unit residences,
Yeah.
how to talk about severances, how to market your property, how to list your property. So there's lots of things. I mean, there can be situations that you don't encounter
right,
very often that we have to be up to date on
Right.
to be prepared to
Right.
do, because we never know when we're going to be in that situation, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so it courses that topics that members want to see should be something that's submitted to us, because maybe we can
implement
we can
that
address
as well.
it, yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure. And like I said, it's OMDREB been always been ahead for those things. And even like the other boards have adopted those ones later. We were the originator of the ITSO, like people bringing boards together.
Yeah, we were a founding board there.
Founding board over there. When we have right now, how many, 14 or 18 boards?
I think
approximately.
14, I think.
Yeah, approximately.
Yeah.
And who share data with one central place and work along. Like, you can stay in your jurisdiction and influence, like, municipality and government and advocacy and everything. But it can be unique yourself as well. But in terms of like a data, you can still collaborate.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we also do professional standards. So,
Yeah.
per our MLS rules and codes, we try to enforce professional standards so that listings are entered correctly.
Were you reading my questions? You already know, like, answer.
Oh, is that what the next question was?
That's what's saying. What role does OMDREB play in advocating for real estate policies in the local and how does OMDREB support its members in terms of professional development and technology, right? And so you were answering that question.
Yeah,
so
well,
which is
yeah,
good.
primarily through the training sessions,
Correct.
like our continuous learning,
Right.
mostly through that.
Yeah. And also, like, I look into that when, if I do any mistake on my listing, I get the notification right away. Make
Yes, you
sure you
do.
correct it within 24 hours or certain time frame.
Or I'll be back.
And like those are kind of like a reminders, like because even as a busy realtor, sometimes
Yes.
like you're putting that information.
Yes.
And one thing also I love about the giving the standard and professionalism is providing more information to consumers.
Yeah, and it can't be misleading or vague.
Correct.
It needs to be accurate.
And that's why, like, the biggest
Yeah.
thing which I like about the square footage,
Yeah.
right? We always like mandate it like from very long time, mandatory to put the square footage.
Right.
While you go to the other boards,
Right.
I'm not going to name it, but it's not mandatory.
No, and it's a range.
Right. It's a
Yeah.
range you have to give.
Yeah.
And then also we were using data like from MPAC, which is again not 100% accurate, but it's only meant for assessment purpose only,
Right.
but it's not the accurate measure. Or even the builder measure is not accurate because it varies with the disclaimer in fine print.
Yes.
So more appropriate way is like, measure yourself and put it there. And that's bring us like more accountability and responsibility to us when we're representing our clients. So I really love that. A lot of people think like it's a lot of work, but hey, you don't get paid big bucks without doing
That's right.
those things like you have to do
You have
hard
to cover
work.
all the bases, and it has to be accurate and reliable, and that's why we're insured. That's why we pay insurance.
Yeah, right.
Errors and omissions
Yeah.
insurance. So
We do the
hopefully
errors
we don't
and
need
omissions.
it, but it's there.
But
Yeah.
it's covered. But that does allow us to do mistakes, right?
That's right.
And not misrepresent.
No, but mistakes do happen. 'Cause
Yeah, mistakes do
people
happen,
are
right?
just human
Yeah.
beings. Yeah.
And sometimes, and that's why I'm saying that the check is there.
Yes.
That if you're doing mistakes, you get be informed. Hey,
That's right.
make sure you correct it. Somebody's there
That's right.
to checking that because they understand as well. We have busy life, we also can miss. But at
Absolutely.
least those checks and points are there
Mhm.
to make us look better and more professional. The other things which I like about the zoning, right? Sometimes investor wants to buy a property and then they have to do their own research and everything. But now they know
It's in the listing.
it's in the listing
Yeah.
that you can see what zoning is there
Yeah.
and what can be built over there or not.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. There's codes for that, and I know it's. My agents used to just put residential in there, and
Yes.
if it was a house and whatnot. But now you actually have to put the code in for the municipality that
Yeah.
that the property's in. So,
But more than me, like, you do the commercial as well. You do the, you sell land as well, and looking into zoning is very important, right?
well, of course, yeah. It's essential. You have to have. Now if you put the zoning into the listing, you can search on it, right?
Right.
You can search on that zoning. So if
Correct.
there's somebody looking for something like that, it's easier to find in
Yes.
the database. So
But still do the double checking, like, and that's a realtor advice, right? But that information can be sometime because we're all human.
Yeah.
So having double checking with the municipal zoning department and matching it with that, like, what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Cool. That's great. Now, a lot of people don't know what the board involvement is like when they're playing advocating for real estate policies in the local and national level. How OMDREB is instrumental in advocating for real estate policies at the local and national level.
Well, it goes back to our government relations committee.
Right.
So that's usually comprised of a couple of the directors and members
Right.
who volunteer on the committee.
Right.
So they arrange meetings with elected people, or they talk about issues.
Yeah, what we call the PAC days.
Yeah, PAC days. They have
Yeah.
PAC days. So, for example, when we go to the Canadian Real Estate Association meeting in Ottawa, their AGM is coming up. We'll arrange a PAC day where our government relations committee representatives will meet with MPs from Halton or Oakville and Milton, and they go and meet them in Ottawa.
Right.
We were there for the AGM and be part of that.
And same thing, like with the
meeting.
OREA do, the Ontario Association
And the
does
Ontario
as well.
does as well too.
So not only based on that, like, there's other issues. This is we're talking about the housing, which is related to government. But in the industry itself, like, there's a lot of things happen, which we hear from our consumers. It's a big demand, and how OMDREB play a role in helping making those policies. As I know, like, we can, when those meetings or big decisions happen on Ontario Real Estate Board or Canadian Real Estate Board, we have vote as a board to make. So how those decisions get made, like, who made those decisions?
I'm not sure I understand your question. So
Yeah, I maybe I put like too much words on them, and my thing is, like, if if we advocating on some policy or procedure.
Yeah, I mean, OMDREB is more of an interest group. We don't make decisions on any policies. We can only have have a lobbying effort, right? So if we, if things come out of the round table and then we go meet with the elected officials who do actually vote on laws, then we have an input into them on what should be in the legislation or what shouldn't be in the legislation, and that's often similar to any other interest group that would try to influence any piece of legislation. So but we do it from a perspective of homeowners and property sellers or property buyers and that type of thing.
Yeah, so we play a big role actually in advocating those real estate policies. Again, and depending upon what level of government and how it's impacting globally. In terms of globally, I'm talking about on the national level or provincial level. Because not all the areas are different. We only take our concerns what's happening in our area.
For Halton and Oakville, I mean, there's other boards in other jurisdictions. So Toronto Real Estate Board is much bigger. They would have a much bigger government relations committee than we do. But at least we have that regional. We look after our own backyard.
That's right, for sure.
Take the local concerns to the elected people.
We talked this before as well, coming back to like how does OMDREB engage with its members and the wider community to ensure transparency and effective communication? I know we have the dedicated communication department, and I know like a lot of input goes from President, from other board members, like a board of directors, in there. But like, what are the things like initiatives OMDREB have taken to reach out to the wider community to ensure transparency and effective communication?
That's a toughie. I mean, we try to keep our members informed of everything that's going on. We have news releases, press releases, trying to engage our members, every time they log on to the MLS system. So there's notifications there that can be seem like they're in the way, but we try to balance that between that and using email to try and engage people. Holding different meetings and events.
Town halls.
Yeah. We've done several of those.
Yeah.
Okay. So especially when the legislation changed, we conducted
for Tressa, we did it.
For Tressa, we did it. For the MLS system, we did it. We'll probably do it again.
The latest one, the ORWP.
And the ORWP, the wellness program for realtors, we had town halls about that to disseminate information. So. So yeah, I mean, but the participation rate, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good. So, I'm hoping that this year there's going to be a few
more engagement,
big decisions this year probably. So I'm hoping I would ask all of our members watching, to be engaged this year, so that when we ask you to give feedback on something, please do your best to provide some feedback.
And the other thing is, like, don't get disappointed. Like, if whatever you're saying that it was not being implemented because it's part of bigger group, right? So depending upon, like, it's 100 people contributing on there, and there's 10 of them, like, who have different opinion, because it's tend to going to have different opinion. About things. Something is going to benefit someone. Something is not going to be.
That's right.
That much benefit to them, right? So,
like a lot of issues, there's a loud minority.
Right.
But what I'm finding is there's a tendency in the last few years for elected people or people in the decision-making capacity to ignore or not listen to a vocal minority. And I'm not sure. I've heard. I think you know what I'm talking about. But it's I don't like that style of governing at all. So.
It's need to be like listen to everyone, right? All the opinions and That's one thing we always did the survey,
Yeah.
which is like very transparent, and also the results are shown to them on timely manner as well, what other people are saying. And in that way, like sometimes it happens because that people make different decision after listening all the education being provided, all the facts being provided to them. People change their opinion. The biggest thing was like, when ORWP was coming in, it's about making it mandatory.
Right.
It's not like people don't want it, but they say, hey, it won't work for me because I already have a better policy, or mine is so mature that I'm not going to, but like a senior ones, right?
Yeah. Well, exactly. So the process
Yes.
that you use to make a decision, of course, the people who are on the board or who are elected people, or they're the ones entrusted with making a decision. They have to make a decision, and then and that's that.
Right.
But the process you follow before that
Right.
is something that also is important.
Very important.
So you cannot just have your process for yourselves,
Right.
and keep it in your own little sphere of influence.
Right.
It has to be transparent. It can't be a black box of something happening and then there's an outcome that
Right.
people are unhappy with, because you could still have the same outcome, but
Right.
if you had been more transparent prior to the decision being made,
Right.
then there will be less repercussions after the
For sure,
decisions.
and terms of like there's tons of education was provided, but
Yes.
and sometimes like some of the questions, because there's so many, because we have 96,000 realtors, and a lot of time like it happens, we just wake up like one day and say, why is this happening?
Yeah.
But the tons of communication happened before, which we ignored it.
Yeah.
But also I can look into the other side when decision being made, which is not my interest, like, for example, or not in my favor. The wider thing, look into that, how the process work.
Yeah.
And if that system process is going to be effective or not, if it was mandatory or it was not, if they make it like a non-mandatory. Right? So understanding like on both sides is very important.
Yes.
Whenever we're making any opinion about something, just shouldn't be like one-sided.
People have to feel like they've been consulted.
Correct, for sure. And that's customer service,
That's
right? People want to be listened. They don't want a solution sometimes, right?
That's right.
Because they already know the solution. And recently I learned about women as well. Same thing. Not going to comment on this podcast. Otherwise, it's going to be another full podcast about that. Anyway, coming back to my last question is like as the real estate market continues to evolve, what are some of the challenges and opportunities you foresee for OMDREB and its members?
Well, I think we've kind of covered them already. But what we want to see people come back to our office,
right,
and go back to training sessions and being
right.
together again, and not virtual and not being dispersed. To go back to the founding principles of our organization, what our mandate was at the outset, what our mission statement is.
Let's break it down into like a look into the opportunities in the current scenario, what's going on, because real estate is evolving, price changes, interest rate, all that's like a new policies and procedures coming in. So where you see the challenges or where should the opportunities?
Well, the challenges are in the tools, the box of tools, the MLS tools that we have to offer the members. They have to be robust.
Correct.
Okay, they do. There's a data gap. We know it.
Yeah.
Members know it. They know what the challenges are for that. So that's continuing. That's kind of an ongoing challenge.
Right.
And maybe something will change this year. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
So,
but you're trying your best.
Trying my best.
Right.
So, and we're always looking for feedback on that.
Sure.
So that's probably the biggest challenge and opportunity.
Yeah. Okay.
Staying relevant too.
Yeah, and that's I think like you said it, like challenge and opportunity.
Yes. So I mean, it's easy for maybe a member to say, well, what's my association doing for me? We pay a lot of dues.
Yeah.
And it's true. They pay a lot of dues. They pay dues to CREA. They pay our dues to our REA. And then they pay some dues to us.
One fee. That's what we should advocate for. One fee. not having a multi-level of things. But hey, that's me. I know we're running out of time, and I got the thanks from my videographer as well. But thank you so much for your insight, and thank you for coming over here. Looking forward to see maybe in future we can do more podcasts like this, and we talk about like a more particular topic and market scenarios.
Definitely. Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for watching another episode of Real Estate Wisdom Podcast. And if you like, please subscribe, comment. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube channel. Appreciate your comments. Appreciate your love. Keep giving. Keep bringing that love to us. Thank you so much. Disclaimer. The information provided in this podcast is for informational purpose only and should not be considered as financial or investment advice. Consult with your professional before making any real estate decisions.